Hello, and welcome to Homer for Sunday, July 13th, 2025. Today, we will be reading from lines 396 down to 410 in Book 11 of the Iliad. This is a great scene. We have Odysseus talking to himself, and if you appreciate a monologue, then you'll be happy to know this is the first one in the Iliad so far. With that, let's get started. So spake he, and to him did Odysseus, fain for his spear, draw nigh, and take his stand before him. And Diomedes sat down behind him, and drew forth the sharp arrow from his foot, and a sore pang shot through his flesh. Then leapt he upon his chariot, and bade his charioteer drive to the hollow ships, for he was sore pained at heart. Then now Odysseus, famed for his spear, was left alone, nor did anyone of the Argives abide by him, for that fear had laid hold of them all. Then mightily moved he spake unto his own great-hearted spirit, Woe is me, what is to befall me? Great evil were it if I flee, seized with fear of the throng. Yet this were a worse thing, if I be taken all alone, for the worst of the Danaans hath the son of Cronus scattered in rest. But why doth my heart thus hold converse with me? For I know that they are cowards that depart from battle, whereas whoso is preeminent in fight, him verily it behoveth to hold his ground boldly, whether he be smitten or smite another. Awesome, let's sing it. Sfatatua Odyseus tuori klutos enguthen elton. Aste prostopisten kates domenos pelos oku. Ek podosel kodune de diakros elthalegeine. Esti fronda norus akaien yokoi epitele. Now sine pikla porre sine launa menechta to garker. Oi othe do Odysseus duori klutos uret isautoi. Argeion paramen en pefobosella by pantas. Och thessas taraway paproson megalatora tuomon. O moja goti parto mega men kakonai ke förbomai. Plättun harbesas tere regionai kemano. Region aiken hallo. Muonos tu stalus dana ose fobese kronion. Alla tie moi tauta pilos dialexa totuomos. Moi da garotica koi mena poi hontai polemoio. Hoste caristau esi macrei aniton de malachro. Esta menai craterose teblete te balalon. Amazing. Okay, so as mentioned, also sorry about the tuning. Something seriously wrong with my lyre, but it is 3,000 years old, so just kidding. So there's something interesting going on here, which is, Odysseus, as we might know, if you really obsess over these poems, you have a good idea of how Odysseus's character is fundamentally different than the others. Odysseus is never labeled as Aristos, right, in the Iliad. And it's really telling that he speaks of those who are the best here. Hos Charisteu simake any ton de malacro, right? It's, all the others, right? Those who are preeminent, Kro, Ton, right? Who is, among the best ones in battle, to stand and fight, right? And there's a really interesting, this final line at 410. I mean, it's just so complicated, right? And it really presages, I think, there's a lot of like lexical things that tie the Iliad and the Odyssey, and there's also a lot of lexical things that don't tie the Iliad and the Odyssey. But I think this sort of like wordplay that Odysseus often does to himself is notable. This is a monologue. Just such great lines here, very summative, like heroic lines, right? Like alla tie moitao tapilos dialexatatumos. What is my beloved spirit in dialectic with me for, right? Why is my spirit, the translator says, why doth my heart thus hold converse with me? I mean, that's just such a great line. I mean, that's like, it almost sounds like it's in a Shakespeare play. So he helps his friend, and he sends his friend back to the ships, right? Because his friend is injured. But he still has the question of, what should I do, right? And the other very heroic line is, I think, this one, right? Like Odysseus is alone, famed to the spear, and we just had the passage before this yesterday is all about how the spear is famous and how the spear is like so much more noble than the arrow. Odysseus is as a tactics guy, right? As a conniving guy, as a deception guy, he's still using the spear. The spear. Maybe that's another slip there. Right. And so it's interesting seeing the way the Iliad, which is in some ways kind of critical of Odysseus sometimes, is at least not, as lauding as the Odyssey, is nonetheless giving this perspective on like how he's fighting, right? He's still doing it with the spear, and he has these, these things, right, that are like, he's speaking to his spirit. I mean, it's just such a great like monologue, this opening monologue line. There's lots of other things you could say about like, the preservation, so it is the first monologue in the Iliad up till now, and there's going to be 10 more from books 17 to 22, right? But none other than book 11 until then, and I think that's quite notable. Anyway, these last three lines are the big ones, right? I know that the evil ones, the bad ones, flee from battle, right? But he who is on the Aristoesi, right? It is important for him to remain in battle. Hestamanai kataros, right? To stay strong, right? And this is maybe why people fashion Homer as a philosopher. Why is he in the Aristoesi, right? Because he's stronger, right? Kataros. This is kind of like might makes right, so to speak. Not kakos anyway. Whether he be smitten or smite another, tebalalon, right? That's quite Thessalonican if you want to get into the Platonic relevance. But of course, this predates that quite a bit. Just such a great line to. It's almost as if like the repetition of the Ada here hides the conversing of not just Odysseus with his spirit, but also, the sort of capstone on it, which we'll hear more about next time, but also the idea of striking another versus striking oneself by, being weak and running away. Anyway, okay, that's enough. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.